Tansei, Kagiao Kita Tanska Tinawao. I'm Marguerite Cole, and along with my presenters, who I'll introduce shortly, we'd like to welcome you to our presentation about our Cree app development project. Firstly, however, I'd like to acknowledge that I live and work on Treaty 6 territory in the homeland of the Métis, and I work on campus, and I live in Saskatoon, and it's situated on these beautiful lands. By making the statement, I pay respect to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationship with one another. And I'd like to encourage everybody to think about the lands upon which they're currently standing. Okay. Oh, okay. Here. Randy Morin and Ben Lewis are going to do the heavy lifting today. I'm going to be trying to get out of their way so that they can have most of the floor. So Randy is the fellow on the right-hand side of the picture, and Ben is on the left. And this was a recent trip that we took up to Minnesota to visit Kevin Lewis. And Ben's an avid fisherman, and he's actually got fish in there. And I'm Marguerite Cole. That's kind of what I look like. As we get started, I wanted to acknowledge all the wonderful people who have worked with us. So Dr. Kevin Lewis, Randy, of course, Yulita Vasileva, Ralph Dieters, Ben. So those are the people that are currently most involved at the moment, but we've also worked with several other people. The last row at the bottom there are people who have done a lot of translation work for us. Michelle Whitstone, Cheryl Herman in particular. Michelle has done some Navajo, Cheryl has done Dene, Randy and Kevin have been doing Cree. Linda's been a cultural advisor for us. But there's been I just wanted to say thank you to all of those people who have helped with the project. And I also really would like to thank CIRA, the Canadian Internet Registry Authority. They they're our funders. They've been incredibly patient and wonderful with us over COVID. So it was a one-year project, but we actually spent 2 years, and I just highly recommend working with them. So for today, I'm going to spend just a few minutes discussing a little bit of the history or background of the project. Then I'm going to turn it over to Randy, who will discuss language, various language aspects, and then Ben is going to be talking about a lot of the technical aspects. And then at the very end, we're just going to talk about what we're going to be doing moving forward this winter already. So the nisotak project, nisotak, I believe it's an old word for canoe. Randy can correct me if I'm wrong. But it's an acronym that stands for Nehiyawewin, Instructional Syntax for Online for Teaching and Knowledge. And basically, the project has involved the design development, and we're going to be moving into testing an app for learning how to construct Cree words and sentences. It has resulted in a learner app that currently works on Android, and I'm hoping that we'll move it to iOS for people who use iPhones. And we also have developed a teacher interface that allows teachers, grammarians, basically people who are non-programmers, including students, as you'll see later in our very last slide, how we're going to encourage students to use this for learning. But they can easily add, delete, modify contents of the database without programming knowledge. And the database and what you can input as a teacher, you can put in a Cree story, Cree sentences. You can break the words and sentences down in quite a degree of granularity so that you can work at the level of morphemes. And these are complemented by some audio and images, multiple choice questions, and yes, so that's kind of where we're at. And you'll see whether some screenshots or if Ben actually shows you the app working later. So it was designed with the notion of accessibility for communities and and learners, so you can learn remotely. Where once again, right now, this is actually a picture of an Android phone and where I was installing out of Google Play. And we are going to be aiming for to be Mac friendly eventually as well. Now, the nice thing about this, and I was playing around with it, it looks like it's working, is that you could be in an area of high access to internet, whether it's Wi-Fi or cellular, and you can download the app, and then you can actually download. You can play with the lessons right there, but you can also download them and store them on your phone so that if you want it to go camping or you want to go somewhere where there's no cellular access, then you have them downloaded and installed, and you can still learn your lessons when you're not in an area of high bandwidth. And then once you're done with those lessons, you can choose to keep them, but you can also delete them so that you're not filling up your memory space on your phone. Okay, so then I'll just make a few comments about the content, and this is a little bit about the history as well. When we started this project, we had a little bit of trouble getting started because we were thinking, well, what level do we tackle? Beginners, intermediate, advanced? What age? Well, what age group? So children or adults, teenagers, and what do we put into it? We ended up creating this teacher interface that allows the teachers or anybody who's a language expert to really choose that for themselves. So if somebody is, say, a teacher in school and they want to teach young kids some Cree, they have all the flexibility they need to make unique lessons that complement their school curriculum. And similarly, if someone is teaching Cree to adults, there's just total flexibility to choose the kinds of images, the topics. So what we were really hoping is that it would be helpful for teachers who have curriculum, but also helpful for people who want to create lessons that are relevant to day-to-day things. And then the lessons are designed so that it can start with a story, and then there are sentences. Ben will show you later on the mobile app. He'll show you some screenshots and things. So there are sentences and you can listen to the sentence. There's an image to complement it. And then there's some multiple choice questions. And it's designed so that you can do micro lessons. And so, for example, you can teach, say, future tense. I will bring a soccer ball. I will bring water. I will bring. And so you expand the vocabulary, but you give that repetition for the grammar with each sentence. And then you can construct, say, another lesson. And the grammar that you might focus on is past tense. So you can actually use the same vocabulary, but in past tense. So you can say, I brought water. I brought a soccer ball. I brought. And so there's that. So that's what we're calling them anyway, is micro lessons. And is there anything else here? So one grammatical element. Okay, so that's kind of where we started. So basically we ended up with a super flexible teacher interface that allows people to tailor the lessons to their particular needs. And that could be the needs of community, teachers, what have you. Okay, so, and I just wanted to stress that notion of day-to-day life. So you can, you can teach a lesson on going to the movies if you want it. All right, so this is Randy. And Randy, you all set? Because I'll mute my microphone and.
All right, well, kita tamskat now. I shake your hands in peace and friendship. Randy Morin, it's son. Stacy Pius Sinya. Kinanas kommt na, pita ko tiga notes. So my name is Randy Morin. I come from Big River First Nation. I shake your hands in peace and friendship, and I thank all of you. I thank Margaret and Ben for being here. And yeah, I teach at the University of Saskatchewan. It's my third year there, and I teach. Right now, I'm teaching two Cree classes, Cree 110, all online. So this this app is going to really help because of COVID times. Everything's going online, and the face-to-face option is it's challenging because I like being with my students. I like the face-to-face. I like the relationships that I build with my students. Now I just look at a screen. And as you all know, the state of Indigenous languages are in a state of emergency in Canada. In Canada, only Cree and Untitled and Ojibwe, are set to continue to be spoken in the next 25 years. And so we need to do more. And I think with technology, we can do it. But as you know, the best methods is immersion. That is the absolute best method of learning a language, and it has been proven by many Indigenous groups around the world. And so I was asked to join this project by Margaret last year, and of course I could not say no to it because of how great this app is. I looked at, I don't use too many Cree apps myself. I don't use too many Cree apps. The only app I really do use is the Cree language dictionary app. That's an amazing app by itself, but it is just a dictionary. So I use it on a daily basis. When I come across a word I can't figure out, I'll input it in there and it'll translate it for me. And it is currently always being updated. So that's pretty cool. I may throw my hat in there to throw in more vocabulary into that app as well. But in terms of this nisotak app, how I started was I started adding the text and the audio to it. And so Margaret would send me the text and I would translate it, and then I would record it on my phone and I would send the files to Margaret, and she would then send the files to the computer scientists, the computer engineers that are working on this amazing app. And so I love this app because, as Margaret stated, it's very interactive. It's very user-friendly. You can create many sentences using this app. It's very interactive. I don't know the numbers of the language apps that are out there, but I just know many of them are just dictionary apps. And so there needs to be more of these kind of apps where you can actually learn some grammar rules and start building your knowledge. You can start speaking a language right off the bat. So for example, next term, I'm going to be teaching a higher level Cree class, and it's called Cree grammar, the Cree grammar class. And so Margaret, in her generous nature, worked on the grant, the research ethics for that class to happen. And so we're going to be getting my students to use this app in the teacher interface, where they create lessons, they record their lessons, and then we come back after they've done it, and we have a sharing circle of how they were able to use the app. So we're going to be getting real good feedback from actual learners on how this app can be improved or how it is helping them. And so the need for more resources is ever present, because as you know, little startling statistic for you all is for many, many, many years, I don't know how many years, $5 million was allotted for Indigenous students to learn their languages. And so you divide $5 million to 1.5 million Indigenous people, it only adds up to around roughly $4, right? And so a lot of times, language instructors like myself, we really struggle to find resources to help us teach the language, right? Because we know learners learn in a variety of ways. We like there's just a variety of ways that we can learn in this way, and so we really struggle to teach. I really struggle to teach the language. I can't imagine, like, yeah. So now, I really thank First Nations University of Canada. They're really coming out with some really good stuff for adult learners, right? For example, this book is so widely used in Canada. It's so widely used in Canada, this book. It's a textbook and it's got worksheets in it, but our young people aren't going to use this. You know what I mean? Like our elementary, they're not going to use this. High schools, this is just not, they're not going to do it. Their world is technology. It's a technological world. So we have to use technology now to teach the language. And so that's where online teaching is happening. That's where I do it from home. But yeah, I'm really, really honored about to be part of this project. Like the Cree language, just to give you an example, it's a polysynthetic language, right? And here's a great big example. Gihte giskin waha ma tu weka me goch. That's a word. Gihte giskin waha ma tu weka me goch. How many syllables are in that word and how many meanings are in that word? It's a polysynthetic language, right? And we're now coming up with words to describe like elephants, hippopotamuses, like holy smokes, like we have to, the language is evolving. And through this app, people can actually create words as well. So yeah, you can learn all these morphemes, your tense indicators, your preverbs, and your suffixes and your prefix, like there's so much you can learn with the app. You break down a word, right? For example, right here, nepemepahtan. Ne is me, peme is long. Pemepah ase backwards, soke strongly. Okay, so there's a lot of ways just from one word to break it down. And so I did that with some of the lessons in the app. I was able to break down many, many words, just to keep breaking and breaking and breaking and breaking. So just to learn the root word of every word. So that's a little bit about the Cree language, the challenges we face, but the solutions we have. And I want to thank the funders, and people like Marguerite and Ben, are working so hard on this app. That's those are true allies. Those are that's allyship right there in real time. And that's reconciliation, right? That this is also the calls to action, creating more resources. It's in the calls to action, the TRC calls to action, right? So myself, it is a real honor to be part of this project. and I hope to be a part of this project, as long as it's happening. And yeah, I'm also just blown away by what Ben has been able to do with his technological know-how in creating an actual app. That's a whole new world for me. I just don't know anything about that world. All I can contribute is the knowledge of the language. That's all I can contribute. But the technological aspect of, that's all in Ben's hands. So, and he is an absolute master with this software engineering stuff. So, and he's also an amazing fisherman. So, but yeah, I'm here to answer any questions if you have about the language. But I just wanted to give you that little tidbit about Nehiawiwin and moving forward what it's going to look like. So.
And Randy, we're just so honored and happy to have you working with us too. And you said all I can contribute is language. Well, that's huge, right? And that's the whole reason we're doing it. It's a beautiful language. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Oh, there we go. And so this is Ben's picture. And yes, he's a huge fisherman. And so Ben, I'll just advance here and tell me when to click.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Ben Lewis. Thanks for handing it off. You're very flattering, Randy. I do what I can, but there wouldn't be an app to make without the language. So really, we complement each other quite nicely. So yes, I started working on nisotak this spring. I inherited the project, and I think we've come a fairly long way. This is an overview of what we've got working right now on both of the sides of the app. For our teacher interface, we've got user management down, we've got lesson management down, and most recently we have language management down, which we can get to a little bit in the learner app, because that language management is a new feature we added that allows users of the app to navigate it in the Indigenous language they want to learn/interact with. So with the learner interface, we have, like I said, implemented that multi-language navigation. Then there is the lesson participation and the media that we use to engage the students that Randy had previously mentioned. Usually it'll be pictures for sure, and audio where it is configured, but that's all up to the teachers. When you launch the teacher interface, you are able to define all of these things. So I'll allow you to progress. So yeah, this is the definition of a language. If you wanted to create or the definition of a lesson, sorry, in our app. When you create a lesson, it starts off with a page allowing you to configure location, the knowledge source, the level, the title of the lesson, and some brief description. All of these things are put into a database, which is then later read by the learner app. And one thing that we tried to focus on when making both the apps is to give priority to the Indigenous or taught language. So we always try to make sure that the leftmost language, as we read left to right, will be the taught language or Indigenous language. And that is something we try to stick to throughout the entire app. So I'll let you progress again here. Yes, so here's the learner interface. As I said, you are able to collect the lessons from the database, but that database could be running on a multitude of servers. The one thing that we also introduced recently was that we introduced the ability for a nisotak server to be run on any host, and then the app can connect to any host. So if one school, say the U of S, had a server for nisotak running that had lessons hosted on it, you would be able to access the lessons that the U of S has created. If another institution also had a nisotak server running, up in that top bar, you just be able to type in the address of where that is, and you would get a whole new set of lessons that was defined by users on their teacher app without having to change a username or anything. So I'll let you progress again here, Marguerite. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't get these things going. Yeah, we try to make everything quite fluid and quite simple. Some of our goals going forward are having more strenuous user engagement, mostly by enhancing our quizzes to be a bit more engaging. By introducing multiple types. And as Marguerite had hinted, we're trying to get Apple working as well, so we can have platform independent app. All right, so here is the multi-language navigation feature. This is what allows people and speakers to define a language in order for it to be used in the app. These can then be, once they're ready, published for use in the Learner app. And so then we can progress again here, and that should show us how that works. So yes, once they've been published, they become available for the user to use and navigate the app in. These are the ones we have currently configured on our server. And if you look at the picture on the right, you can see that we've enabled the color change and also changed the navigation to use Nihuewan. So then there's lesson management. This is just where lessons can be published or unpublished or edited or deleted in the teacher app. It's mostly just to navigate and allow you to collect and use the languages that you, or use the lessons that you would like to edit. And then we can progress again there.
I was just going to interrupt for a moment. Sorry, Ben. The other thing too that we kind of realized late into it is that we can also support syllabics. So we could potentially have a navigation in syllabics, and we can have lessons in syllabics. So that's kind of a cool thing that we realized in the last couple of months. Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. Anything that you can put into a keyword can be made into a lesson. So, and here's what it would look like to browse. And I can show all this when we go through a live demo as well, but this is what our browsing looks like. This is what the definition of a morpheme looks like. So this is our table where you can break down a word or a sentence into chunks, each of which would have corresponding understanding in English that would be sent to the people who are using the Learner app. And then these English language texts can be displayed as a hint if need be. And there's also the image section and the audio section, which are both also made available to users of the Learner app. And this is just a quick flow through one of the lessons. So you can see that it's got one screenshot from a lesson in Navajo, one from a screenshot from a lesson in Cree, and then a little bit of a quiz that goes through how that goes. So usually you'd select one, you'd be met with a story or a series of phrases. Each one of them has images or audio which can be played. The quizzes are the same way. No image on the quizzes quite yet, but it's certainly something we have on our radar and not something that's difficult to do. They all have hints that would allow you to play audio so that you're able to get a little bit more of a feel for it, and then you'll let you know if you've selected the correct one, and you are not able to progress through the quiz until you've selected the right one. Alrighty, so if you'd like, I can go through a demo of the app now, Marguerite, or I'll leave it up to you.
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, I'm gonna take the screen share then.
Absolutely. Here, I'll stop my share, and then you're able to, you have the green screen share button, right?
Yep.
Perfect.
Is everyone able to see my screen?
You betcha.
Alrighty, so I've typed in my credentials and I'm going to log into the teacher app or the Learner app here. So you can see that I've configured myself to be connected to our server running at the U of S. Let's say I wanted to go over here. And now when I change up our colors and try out a different language. Select this guy. This is an emulator, so it's a bit slow. If it looks like something isn't loading, then it's just the emulator trying to catch up. So here we go. We've now changed our navigation to be in Cree. We've got all the languages and all the lessons here as well. None of that has changed. And if we wanted to select a Cree lesson to learn, we'd be met with a decision as whether or not we are which difficulty we'd like to browse for. We've got some normal ones, some hard ones, we've got an easy one. Let's begin over here. Here's our outdoor activities lesson. I'm not sure if I share audio as well, but I'll give it a shot here. So I'm gonna go ahead and press play on this and see if it will.
One.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can send my audio over, but it's definitely playing audio for me. Over here, we've got the revealing of hints as well by just simply clicking on them, which shows you that. The ability to download for later use. And then it'll show a little loading bar, how far along it's progressed in the download. Again, the UI is, as it's an emulator, it's a little bit slow, so it's already completed for me, but I'm not sure about for everybody else. So let's say we wanted to start this lesson out. This lesson starts with a story, I believe. So we've got a story coming up. And here's our main story page filled with phrases as well as pictures that come with it, and the audio. Each one has their own individual audio all the way through. And we're able to kind of navigate through the lesson back and forth, go through for a quiz here. I must admit that I've been through this a few times, so I kind of feel like I'm cheating if I select the right answer, but away we go. And so that's the main navigation of the quizzes. We'd like to see in the future some kind of mix and match morpheme kind of type quizzes, but for now, this is what we've come up with. There's search features. There's a way to browse all of the lessons that we have configured on the server. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what else to show you guys, but I'm excited to be continuing working on this project. It's very nice to have something meaningful to contribute computer science skills towards, and so I'm hoping to make it nothing but better as time goes on. And I'll stop my sharing there, unless there's anything anyone wants to see in particular.
I'll check the chat room here. Great template, pull down menus. We don't have any pull down menus just yet. Oh darn, somebody had to leave. Okay. I think we're good, Ben. Thank you.
Well, I'll turn it back to you then.
Okay, and we only have one slide left here. I will go back into my PowerPoint. Okay, and advance it. Okay, so now Randy and Kevin Lewis and I, we have received a little bit of funding to allow us to do some research on this project coming up. We're aiming for next February to March. And so Randy's already kind of described what we're basically going to do. This particular phase is to help us basically perfect the app. So there's always little tweaks and things that you want to improve in the interface, but this will give us a chance in the first phase with Randy's students and potentially Kevin's students. We're going to ask them to just use the Learner app initially, so they kind of get at the hang of how the Learner app works and play with that. And then we'll ask them to evaluate it for usability and what they like and dislike. So we're not actually evaluating the students, we're not evaluating their learner, but we'll be working on improving the app. And then once they get used to that, we're going to say, okay, guys, do you want to make your own? Which in the past, I've done similar kinds of things, and students find it really engaging. And it's kind of fun because it's tangible. It's something that they can create, and then other students can download their lessons, or they can share it with their family. They can share it with, the kokums and moshums and pardon me. And so in the second phase, we'll ask them they have to work with the language. So it's a learning activity. And so they'll create their own story, sentences, and questions, and then, work back and forth with their instructor, Randy, and making those as proper Cree grammar and morphology. Then they get to record their audio. So there's practice for them to pronounce the words and put the morphemes together. They get to select images. Along the way, we'll also be supporting them in learning some of those skills, like how to resize images, how to edit audio, those kinds of things. So there's a technical aspect. Then once they have their text, they've got their audio and their images, they get to add it into the teacher interface. And when they're ready, they click publish and it becomes available on the app. So at that point, they can then share it with their classmates or their friends, their family. And then once they've gone through that process, we'll ask them to evaluate the process for us. And this time we'd ask them about the usability of the teacher interface. And we'd also ask them how they like it as a learning tool. So that's kind of what we have planned coming up. And then once we're done that, and we've done the additional tweaks to the interface, then we would be looking for potentially partners, people from communities who would like to work with us, and whether they work on our U of S instance, or if there's communities who want to download and install the actual software on their own servers. Really the sky is the limit on how we can collaborate. And our main goal is to make a really good, usable product that's easy to use and pleasant and fun, and ensure that people can have access to it, make it available to communities, teachers, schools, and whatnot. So thank you for listening to our presentation, watching our video. And if you would like to contact us, Randy, I hope it's okay. I put your email here, and I put Kevin's on here too, and mine. And Ben, I thought if anybody wants to talk to you, they can contact me or Randy or Kevin, and we'll connect you that way. And yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing, or maybe I'll just leave that up right now. And if there are any questions, we'd be delighted to answer. And again, anybody wants to collaborate in the future, we would be delighted. I'll just call up the chat. Absolutely, I can send the slides. If you want to email me, feel free.
How can
we'll
one
also
access this app?
Ben, do you think we're ready to go prime time?
It's not quite ready for prime time yet. I would say by the time that I've released version 2, right now we're at version 1 still. But version 2 is going to have some important changes made to our sign-in process. So then it should be ready for more of a production rollout. It can be installed from the Play Store. It just you won't be able to sign in currently. I've disabled that.
Yeah, we had actually, it was interesting as we were preparing for this. We had a hiccup in that. Hey, Ben, on the weekend I was texting Ben because I was unable to sign in, and but I did earlier today, Ben, and it worked pretty good. But I know you did a patch or something on that. I'd like to invite people to email me, and I can let people know when we're ready to open up the floodgates and invite people in. And so, yeah, eventually it'll be accessible through the Play Store. And when we get the Mac version ready, it'll be accessible through the Apple, what do they call it? The Apple Store?
Yeah. I have a question. This is Nancy.
Certainly.
I work with our tribal languages in the United States, in Washington State, and I'm way across the country. So I was wondering, are you guys working with anybody in the United States on these projects, or is this just all in Canada?
Well, we're working with a woman. She lives here. She married a Cree fella, and her name's Michelle, and she's doing Navajo. in our app right now. She's done a lot of different lessons in there. We'd be delighted to work with anybody in the United States. So Nancy, if you were interested,
Yes.
we'd be really delighted. Please email me and
Okay.
or Randy or Kevin.
Yes, I definitely am interested. Definitely want to learn more about my my Indian name is Quatolamo. My English name is Nancy Bob. I work with Lushootseed and Lummi language, Tuareg, some of the Salish Straits languages. Yeah, it's a lot of fun work. This is definitely a project I want to move on. So there's a lot of people developing apps, but nothing this sophisticated that I've seen in this area. Particularly, I would like to do a word builder app because constructing words in our language, as Randy said, sometimes they're this long, you know, or the way we speak them, they have a lot of syllables to them. And I think constructing a word building app would be really nice to do.
Okay.
So people
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
The way that we constructed this, I think that our app could be used for almost any language, but we actually did it in such a way that you can certainly chunk morphemes, pieces
Yeah.
of words like prefixes, suffixes, infixes, and then eventually what we'd like to do is have an activity where you can drag and drop. So it's like a little, so people can listen to the sentences, they can read the sentences, but eventually it would be really fun if students could actually, you know, try to figure out what the order is.
Yeah.
And
like
so
that.
there's lots of things that we'd like to do in the future with the app. Definitely email me and let's see what we can do.
When the version of the app comes up on the Play Store for Android, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Will there be a fee to download to use it?
No, if we can at all help it, we want it to be freely accessible.
Okay, I'm going to be watching for that for sure.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's, I think that's kind of important to, you know, to make these kinds of tools freely available for teachers and learners.
Mm-hmm.
It's imperative, if you ask me, in order to encourage people to continue working with the languages and keep them alive. Thank you so much, Nancy. It's
Yes.
lovely meeting you.
Thank you. I'll be in touch for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Anyone else? Diana wrote, I didn't catch your name. My name's Marguerite. I may have forgotten to introduce myself. I don't know. Sometimes I do that. Anyone else? Yeah.
Diana, what is your opinion about this nisotak app? And how do you see Yellowhead Tribal College using it?
Sorry, I can't put my camera on if I'm on my iPhone right now. But thank you for asking the question. What are my questions? When I registered, I had to answer a number of questions, and one of the questions that I asked was, how does this app be maintained in terms of the language, honoring the languages of the people from who they belong to, and ensuring that I don't want to say it's a copyright, but ensuring that the intellectual property is maintained by the people. That was my question.
That is a great question, and we've spent many hours discussing this. So I'll kind of start at the beginning. So one of the things that we've incorporated into it, in fact, maybe I'll just zip back to the teacher interface quite early on. Is this the one? Yeah, so on this screen, I know this is maybe a little bit small to see. So firstly, what we wanted to do was honor all the languages and the dialects. So when we started, we thought, well, we're working primarily, Randy and Kevin both speak Y dialect. But we thought also there's differences potentially between Minnestickwin and Big River, for example, even in Y dialect. Randy, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. And so what we put in here is Kevin was able to identify himself. So it's from Minnestickwin, it's Cree Y dialect. His name is in there as the knowledge source. In the knowledge source, you could put in the name of an elder or whatnot. Right now, this is in our University of Saskatchewan database. And if we were ever going to share the information, we would primarily ask permission from the knowledge holder, the contributor. Moving forward, say if someone from, let's just say, Sweetgrass or another reserve wanted to start working in this app and offering it to their community, but they wanted it private, we could very easily replicate the entire system, put it on so it'd be packaged up on its own server. And then we could say, okay, so you guys get access to this and you can control who accesses it. And there is a user management interface for particularly teachers, and there's a bit of granularity there. So somebody could be a contributor, somebody can be an editor or reviewer, and there's different levels of access to that. So we would, if anybody wanted to use it, we would meet with those people and we would discuss, what their needs are in terms of privacy and security, and potentially and work that way. Currently, we don't share our database right now with anybody. And if we did, I would be speaking to our Navajo translator, Kevin and Randy. We have a Dene translator as well, and I would be talking to them carefully before sharing any of that information. Does that answer your question? Did I miss anything? And yes, the way it's programmed as well, without getting into really technical things, we can very easily replicate the entire system for anybody. We could, if somebody had their own server, we could potentially put it on their own server and they could fully manage it themselves. You would need a technical person, right? But part of our funding too, when we applied for it, was that this tool will be freely available to people who need it. So you could certainly put it on your own server and run with it.
Is there a website version of the app as well?
Ben, yeah, I'll let Ben take this.
There isn't a website version that is currently up and running, but the tool we use to build the Android app allows you to release the Android app as a web app as well. So in order to do that, it would simply be getting a domain to host the app on. There would be some things like the offline lessons would not be able to work with that because there has been some development on the browser and the web version. That's simply a limitation of the system that we've used. Unless we want to break some security rules, which I'd rather not. We are not supposed to use the browser to download or save files with this. So yeah, it would definitely be there. The lessons would all be accessible. The audio, the images, they'd all be playable. The only thing that you wouldn't be able to do is download the lessons and take them with you.
Thank you. If Maskwacis Cultural College is interested in pilot testing this with our students and for our programs, then what's the process? Do we sign a MOU with your department, like a memorandum of understanding?
Wow, great question. I'd say contact me and then we'll work it out. That particular thing, we can certainly set up MOUs, we can do all kinds of things, but we haven't done it with anybody yet, right? So we're just on the cusp of making our stable release. And so please, again, contact me and we'll figure all those things out to meet the needs of those who are interested.
Hi, Kinanas. So, Dr. Margaret Cooley, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Randy Moran. Thank you, Bennett. And thank you to all the attendees for listening to this microlearning session. And we will email the recording to everyone who registered, because that's the way in which we can send the recording. You can also type your email and send it to Dr. Cooley directly. You're welcome to do so too. We'll definitely share the slides with everyone. If we have access to your email, then only we can share the recording. And you're welcome to contact Dr. Cooley and the names which were listed in the slide. Exe, moistas. In Plains Cree, we never say bye till we meet again later. So we hope to have a third session to learn more about the development of this app and ownership and how community data, community language is being protected. So that's an important part in this app development and working with indigenous communities. Moistas, exe, that's it for now.
Thank you.